So 54 says write each fraction as each fraction is an equivalent fraction with the given denominator. So if it tells us our fraction is 5/8 and it wants us to change it to a fraction with a denominator of 56, we just need to think about what we're multiplying that 8 times. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. What are we multiplying it? 7. So I also do that to the top, and my top number becomes 35. That is my new equivalent fraction. Next, I have 9b over 4 equals something over 20. What do I multiply my bottom by to get to 20? 5. So I also multiply my top times that. What is 9b times 5? Anybody else besides Valeria know the answer? 45 what? B. 45B. Hello, Miss Todd. We are on number 58. We worked through numbers 2 through 54 yesterday. It's all on a video online where we worked through it. So if somebody missed it yesterday, they can go back and watch that and write down their work.
Jason wasn't here?
No, not for math anyway.
Okay.
I sure will.
The end of math. 58 says 5 over 9y is what over 18y? Why is it 10, Austin? Because we took that times 2, and so whatever we do to the bottom, we also have to do to the top. Number 60. Number 60 says the Simpsons will be fencing in their land, which is the shape of a rectangle. In order to do this, they need to find the perimeter. What is the perimeter of their land? What do I have to do to my numbers when I find perimeter? Add all of them together. We have to add all the sides together. So we have this picture where this is 9/16 and this is 3/16. If I'm adding all of the sides together, I need to also know that this side is what? And this side is? When I add those together, what do I get? (21/16). Can I leave it like that? Ooh, 16 can't be divided by 3. Just kidding. But 21 is bigger than 16, so what can I do? Divide. How many times will 16 go into 21? With how many left over? I think maybe we added wrong, though. I don't think this is 21. So, new plan, that's not our answer. That's not 21. What is 9 plus 9? Plus 3. Plus another 3. There we go. 24/16 is our answer. Again, can I leave it like that? So 16 will go into 24 how many times? With how many left over? Can I leave my answer like that? Why not? I have to simplify. What are both of those numbers in my fraction divisible by, Austin? 4. So that would be a, and then that would be a, is that slowest terms? It's not slowest terms. Still more divisible by something, right?
1.5.
So it is 1.5. We could have divided this by what instead of 4? 8. It would have been divisible by 8. All right, next problem says we're going to add and subtract as indicated in these problems. So number 62, I have 4 over 13 minus 1 over 26. What do I have to subtract these fractions? Common denominator. What's my common denominator going to be? 26, because 13 times what gives me 26? And whatever I do to the bottom, also have to do to the top. So my new fraction here is 8/26 minus 1/26. When I do that, my answer is 7/26.
So do we have to work it out?
Even though there's not an equal sign. Yep. Is that what you were going to ask me? Yep. Even though there's not an equal sign, we still have to work it out because our instructions say that we are going to add or subtract these numbers. Next, I have a negative 2/3,
Is this 58?
64, plus 1/4. In order to add these two fractions together, I have to have a, which would be what between 3 and 4? It would be 12. In order to get a 12 on the bottom of that fraction, I have to multiply by what? So my top number is going to be, and in order to get a 12 on the bottom of this fraction, I have to multiply by a, so my top number here is going to be, now I have a negative 8/12 plus 3/12. I have a negative and a positive, so what am I going to do? I actually have to subtract those numbers because one's a negative and one's a positive. So what's 8 minus 3? Is it a positive 5 or a negative 5? So my answer is negative 5/12. Mason, it's hot in here. You can take your hood off. Yeah, you're sitting by the heater. It's hot. Please take your hood off. Thank you. Next, I have 66, 4/15 plus b over 5. In order to add these, I have to have a common denominator. What's my common denominator? 15. So I do not have to change my first fraction. What am I multiplying my second fraction by? If I multiply 5 times 3, that gives me 15. If I multiply b times 3, that gives me what? 3 b's. Oh, whoops, that's supposed to be a plus. Multiply. My denominator stays the same. Can I combine my terms on the top? They are not like terms. So I just have to leave it as 4 plus 3b. What's that crumpled up eyebrow look for? Oh, okay. Next, 68, 7x over 18 plus 2x over 9. We're adding. I have to have a common denominator. What's my common denominator going to be? 18. So I do not have to change my first fraction. My second fraction I have to multiply by what? 2 times 9 gives me 18 on the bottom. 2 times 2x gives me 4x on the top. Now I can add those together. My bottom stays 18. 7x plus 4x is 11. And that's my answer. I can't simplify or change that. Number 70, 9 over 11. Minus 3 over y. So I have 11 and I have a y. What can I make my common denominator be? 11 what? 11y. It's going to have to be 11y. We are on 60, 70. We are on 70. So if my common denominator is 11y, because we just had to multiply those times each other, there was nothing they had in common, I took this times what? Times y. Whatever I do to the bottom, also have to do to the top. So my top of this fraction is 9y. This one over here, what did I have to multiply my y by to get to 11y? 11. Whatever I do to the bottom, also have to do to the top. So the top of this fraction is, when I subtract those, my bottom stays the same. What were you saying, Valeria? Oh, I can't. You can only cross cancel when you multiply or divide. Can't do it when you add. Good thought, though. Can I combine my terms? 9y minus 33. No. Nope. So 9y minus 33 over 11y is my answer.
We're skipping one.
Yeah, we're only doing the evens. Uh-huh. Sorry. Would have been nice to know before what? Yeah, sorry. 2 over 3 minus 2 over 9 minus 1/6. Gotta throw in that 6. Gotta throw in the 6. So I have 3, 9, and 6. What am I going to use as my common denominator for these?
9. 18.
18. I can't use 9 because 6 won't multiply up to 9 nicely.
I was adding.
Ah, adding is always a good option, except for not here and not now. So we're going to use 18. In order to turn this 3 into an 18, I need to do what? Times 6. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So my new first fraction is 12/18. My next fraction has a 9 on the bottom. If I want to change that to an 18, I do what? 4/18. And then finally, my last fraction is a 6. To turn that to an 18, I need to. So this fraction becomes So I know that my denominator is going to be 18. I have 12 minus 4 minus 3. Positive or negative? It is a positive, so 5/18 is my answer. Because we started with 12, and that's bigger. We never get down to a negative.
Okay. That's why I always get confused.
It's tricky sometimes, yeah.
And if it would just be the same,
Mm-hmm.
like when you add, subtract, multiply, or divide, it would just be so helpful to me.
It would. It's
So that
not.
the rule's the same, so you only have to remember one thing.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Mrs. Spencer.
I'm sorry math doesn't work that way. If I could give you one thing for Christmas,
That would be it.
but I can't. So there's that. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Number 74, we're finding the perimeter of this triangle. Perimeter means we have to do what? Add all the sides. So 1/5
Well, of course, it couldn't just be 3 and 5.
and 3/5
This one's easy.
and 7/10.
I already got this one.
You already got this one done? Look at you go. What is my common denominator going to be? 10. So my first fraction I have to multiply by 2. My second fraction I multiply by 2. My last fraction I multiply by? You don't. I was trying to trick you. You don't. Just leave it the same. 2 plus 6 plus 7, 15. Can I leave it like that? No. What does that reduce down to? 1 5/10, which can also reduce down to 1 1/2. Ooh, we get to turn the page. So number 76. Find the difference in length of the two scarves if one scarf is 5/12 of a yard long and the other is 2/3 of a yard long. What am I doing to these two numbers? I am subtracting. Which one is longer? You might have to look at the picture for that. 2/3. So that's going to be the number I put first. 2/3. Even though it's listed different in my problem. What is my common denominator? So what am I multiplying my first fraction by? Do what? 4. So my first fraction becomes, and I am subtracting 5/12, which gives me an answer of 3/12. Can I reduce that down to 1/4? 1/4 of a yard. '78, we're going to simplify these complex fractions. When I see a complex fraction, the first thing my brain should think is that a fraction bar just tells me I'm doing what? Dividing. And in order to divide, I have to do what? Flip and multiply. So I'm going to rewrite this first as a division. So I have 3y over 7 divided by 11/7. And if you can skip that step, that's fine. Then I'm going to flip and multiply. So 3y over 7 times 7/11. Now we can cross cancel. Valeria, what am I going to cancel? Blah, blah, blah. What am I canceling out? the 7s. Those would both become a 1. 3y times 1 is, and 11 times 1 is. So 3y over 11 is my answer to that complex fraction problem.
Malia Valdez, come to the office, please. Malia Valdez.
Next, I have 5/6 minus 1/4 all over the top of a negative 1/12. Why? First thing I have to do in this problem is what, Mason? The top. I have to subtract these two fractions. In order to subtract them, I need what, Laura? So I have 6 and 4. What kind of common denominator can I use?
12.
I love 12. Let's use 12. So I'm going to rewrite this using a 12. In order to do that, I take my first fraction times what?
2.
So my top number would be?
10.
I take my second fraction times. So my top number would be?
3.
All comes over the top of that negative 1/2 y. 12y. 10 minus 3 is? My 12 stays the same. Now I'm ready to rewrite that as a division problem or flip and multiply if you can do that without rewriting. When I multiply, what is there anything I can cancel? My 12s. So 7 times a negative 1 is, negative 1y. Wait, negative what? We have this 7 over here we're multiplying times that 1y. And my bottom would be 1. So my answer would just be negative 7y. (82) Evaluate each expression if x equals 1/2, y equals negative 2/3, and z equals 4/5. So I have x plus y divided by z. First I need to substitute in. My x was 1/2. I am adding my y, which was a negative 2/3. I am dividing that all by 4/5. Now I'm ready to work this out. I have to work the top portion first. In order to add these fractions, I have to have a common denominator. Between 2 and 3, what's my common denominator? 6. So my first fraction becomes 3/6. My second fraction becomes negative 4/6. I am dividing that all by 4/5. 3/6 plus a negative 4/6. Negative 1/6. Dividing those, and in order to divide, I have to flip and multiply. Is there anything for me to cancel out here? Nope. After I flip them, there is nothing to cancel out. What is 1 times 5? 6 times 4. And that is a negative. So a negative 5/24. Number 84, evaluate each expression. Use the order of operations to simplify. So I have 2 over 27 minus 1/3 squared. Order of operations, or PEMDAS, says I have to do what first? Exponents. When I have a squared here with a fraction inside the parentheses, I have to multiply that whole fraction by itself. So 1/3 times 1/3 becomes what? What did you say, Laura? You said 2? 1 times 1 is, 3 times 3 is, there we go. Gotcha, the 2/27ths. All right. Now I'm ready to subtract these two numbers. In order to do that, I have to have a common denominator. What is my common denominator? 27. In order to get this second fraction to 27, I have to multiply by 3. My answer is -127. Problem number 86. Have a -2/7 times 1/5 plus 3/10. What am I doing first? Inside the parentheses first, so I have to add these two fractions together. In order to add them, I have to have a common denominator between 5 and 10. What is that going to be? 10. So that becomes 2/10 plus 3/10. When I add those together, that becomes now I'm multiplying a -2/7 times my 5/10.
But you don't reduce the 5/10. You leave it the way it
You
is.
can leave it, yeah. Yep. All right, let's cross cancel that 2 and that 10. Becomes a 1, that becomes a 5. 1 times 5 is, 7 times 5 is, and that is a, is that in lowest terms? No. Nope. I can reduce that down. They both end in a 5, so I know I can divide by 5. What's 5 divided by 5? 35 divided by 5. So my answer is a -1/7. Oh, 88. We are not going to estimate. We're only going to find the exact answer. I have 8 and 1/5 minus 5 and 3/11. Oh, go ahead. 55 would be our common denominator. We can popcorn these if you wanted to.
Students, grades 6 through 11, please check your email during seminar and fill out a form sent to you by Mrs. Ward. Grades 6 through 11, during seminar, fill out a form about book ideas that Mrs. Ward sent you. Thank you.
Cool. So we are looking for, okay, so you can popcorn these if you want, or we can change them into common denominators and borrow. So let's change them using common denominators and see what happens when we try to subtract. Valeria just said our common denominator would be 55. I would have to take this times what to get to 55? So my new fraction would be 11 over 55. Next, I have to take this one times what to get to 55? So I have 15 over 55. If I have 11 55ths and I'm taking away 15 55ths, can I?
Negative.
You can't have a negative. Not in this situation, sorry.
We have to borrow from the 8.
From the 8. We're going to borrow from the 8. When I do that, I add what to this 11? I add 55, so that becomes 66 55ths and 15.
So you have to add, you don't have to add 55 to the bottom. Just
Nope.
to the top.
Just to the top. Just to the top. So 66 minus 15 would give me 51. Then I come back over here to my whole numbers and I have a 7 now. 7 minus 5 is 2. So my answer is 2 and 51 55ths. Questions about that borrowing? It's a great time, I know.
So, but you could have popcorned it and went like 40 plus 1 over 5.
We still would have had to find that common denominator. So it would have been 41 over 5 minus 55 58 over 11. And we still have to multiply those to find your common denominator, yeah. But then you would have been able to subtract without borrowing.
Okay.
Oh, number 90, 6 3/4 divided by 1 2/7. No sneaky tricks here, ways to get around it. We have to popcorn. So if I'm going to popcorn this, 6 times 4 plus 3, 27 fourths. 1 times 7 plus 2, 9 over 7. Still dividing here, so what do I have to do? Flip and multiply. Anything I can cross cancel before yes, the 9 and the 27. The 9 becomes a 1. The 27 becomes a 3. 3 times 7 is over. Now I have to turn that back into a mixed number. 4 will go into 20 how many times? With how many left over? So 5 1/4 is my answer. We are going to skip 92 and 94. We are going to do 96 through 120, so when the bell rings, whatever we have left will be your homework, or the evens through 120. You do not have to do 122. 96. 96, I have 20. Are there any others that you would rather do? Do you want to pick ones that look difficult, or you just want me to keep going in order? Just keep going. 23 7/8 minus
This is number 96.
96. Yep. 96. 24 7/10. So automatically when I look at these, I know this is going to be what? My answer is going to be a negative number because I have 23 and I'm taking 24 away. What do I have to subtract these? Common denominator. What's common denominator between 8 and 10? There's some easier. 40. We can use 40. So I have 24. Three times or 5 times 7 is what? 35. 7 times 4 is 28. When I subtract these, I cannot set my equation where my bigger number is on bottom, right? I have to have my bigger number on top. So because I know it's going to be a negative, right? And I know that my bigger number is now on bottom. So I have to move that to the top. So 24, 28 40ths, and 23, 35 40ths. Now I have to borrow. I don't have enough to subtract here, so I have to borrow. So when I borrow, this becomes 68 40ths, because I'm just adding these two together.
Why did we move the
Because if you don't, you're not going to get the right number. Because if I don't flip them, I end up with 7 40ths here and a negative 1 here. And that is not the answer. Because when you have a bigger number, it always has to go on the top when you subtract.
Okay, so we can just move it.
Yeah. You can.
Only in fractions,
No, in all numbers.
we can just move.
Well, like, yeah, if I say that I have 5 and I'm taking away 8, yeah, you can flip that over and put your 8 on top and take away 5 and know that your answer is 3, but it's a negative because our 8 was bigger to begin with.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that with any number.
Okay.
You can.
I thought there was some rule.
No
I'll
rules.
leave it. Okay.
Nope.
No rules.
No rules. It's math. There's no rules to follow. So we have 68 40ths and we're taking away 35 40ths. 68 minus 35 is 33 40ths. And I said when I started this was going to be a negative answer. Right? That is a good time. That was a good question. Yeah, we can just flip those over.
If you have a fraction like this, can you do it properly?
Yes, you can do the popcorn on it.
So you can popcorn no matter what, whether you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing.
You
do
can.
that every time. Okay.
It just adds extra steps because once you popcorn it, then you have to unpopcorn it as well and turn it back into that mixed number when you're done.
Okay.
Yep. Let's try to get one more done. Negative 2 and 1/4 times 1 and 3/4. Multiplying this time, so I have to popcorn this beast. This becomes a negative. And this becomes multiply straight across, and I get 63 over what? 16. I'm multiplying so I don't leave it the same. I have to multiply those. Now I can turn that back into that mixed number by saying 60. Ooh, snap. I don't know, but there's a highway patrolman and a sheriff here, so that's never
Listen to me
good.
this time.
Ah, jeez.
Well, good thing I left the building.
Hope that's all you got in there.
In my truck, so-
16 will go into 63 how many times? I'll give you a hint. It's 3.
Where's the highway?
Right in front of there.
Yeah.
Hey, don't stare out the windows, man.
You're coming here. Come on, Austin. Never be curious.
Okay, don't look out the window right now, but there's also another sheriff
I
pulling
was
up.
like, thought we were both snapping over math. And I'm like, well, crap, what's getting ready to happen
Yeah, I
here?
thought someone was wrong up there.
18, carry 1. Here's a 4. We're subtracting. There you go. And we have 15 16ths left over, and that is a negative number. What?
I don't know what's going on.
I got all
Distracted.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All distracted.
And now we are all